Are you attempting to use the bathroom? Emily's voice sliced through the air, tinged with disdain. Dirty old people are banned from using it. We use that toilet too, you know. If you guys use it, our brand new toilet will get dirty immediately, won't it? Wilson added, his tone clipped and dismissive. Sorry, but you'll have to make do with peeing in the bushes outside. Oh, and don't do it in the garden, okay? If you dirty our precious home even a little, I'll never forgive you both. Emily continued, her words dripping with contempt. We were taken aback by Emily and Wilson's words. A bathroom ban? That's just unthinkable. No matter how much they dislike us, such behavior is inexcusable. We have endured harsh words from our son and his wife before. As the kind of people who dislike fights, we've always quietly accepted their treatment. But now, we've reached our limit. We need to make it clear what happens when they make enemies of us. I started plotting a scenario for revenge. I'm sure this plan will work. My name is Sarah, a 62-year-old homemaker. I live with my husband, Johnson. I met Johnson, my husband, at the company where we used to work. After Johnson's persistent pursuit, we started dating and smoothly transitioned into marriage. I was blessed with a son with Johnson, a lively boy we named Wilson, and raised him with care. Wilson grew up healthily and eventually found a job. He married a woman named Emily and built a family. I remember feeling genuinely happy when he first introduced Emily to us. But that happiness didn't last long. Everything went awry when I realized why she had married him. After marriage, they lived with us. One day, Wilson and Johnson were out, and only Emily and I were at home. At first, we were chatting amicably in the living room. But then, Emily's mobile phone rang. It seemed she received a call. Sorry, Sarah, it looks like it's from a friend, she said as she excused herself and went back to her room. Left alone in the living room, I decided to clean the house to pass the time. As I was passing Emily's room, I inadvertently overheard her conversation. Her voice was so loud that I couldn't help but hear. Seriously, those old folks are living too long. If they suddenly died, we could get the inheritance. I married into the family for the president's fortune, but this is just hell, she said. Her words felt like a cold shower to me. Actually, Johnson's father was the president of a well-known top-tier company. However, the company was set to be inherited by his brother. Still, being part of the president's family, Johnson had some share of the wealth. It turned out Emily had married Wilson with that very intention in mind. They probably believed that once we passed away, the inheritance would become theirs. In fact, we had always treated Wilson and his wife with this in mind. Such behavior couldn't be tolerated. I shared this with Johnson that night. Initially, he was shocked, saying, "Really?" But he trusted my words. After discussing, we decided not to act immediately, but to observe if Emily would reveal her true intentions. Maybe in the meantime, she might change her attitude and start treating us like a real family. It was a decision made with faint hope. But things didn't go as expected. To test Wilson and his wife, we observed their behavior. We invited them out, asked for help with chores, and so on. Gradually, they seemed to find us a nuisance, and their attitude changed. "Wilson, you're free now, right?" "Sorry to ask, but could you lend me a hand with the laundry? My back's been acting up," I said one day, spotting Wilson relaxing in the living room. Although Emily had spoken earlier that day, Johnson suspected they might be in cahoots. Wondering if Wilson shared Emily's sentiment, I approached him to gauge his feelings. At my request, Wilson glanced up from his phone, sighed with annoyance, and retorted, "Can't you do that yourself, Mom? You're a mother, after all. Shouldn't you handle the household chores by yourself?" He then returned to his phone, clearly disinterested in helping. His demeanor seemed to imply, "I have no intention of being family with you." The thought sent a chill down my spine. Don't say that. Family should help each other when in trouble. You have your own family now, Wilson. You need to act responsibly. I trembled, fearing that even Wilson, whom we had raised with love, was betraying us. I desperately pleaded for his assistance, but Wilson remained unmoved, refusing to even look up from his phone or budge from the sofa. His unwillingness to help was evident. Persisting in my request, he let out a heavy sigh and continued, "Enough is enough. Yes, you're my mother, but that doesn't give you the right to be selfish. I have a wife, Emily, and I need to work for her. I'm already exhausted every day. And now you're asking me to do chores too. That's cruel. Don't ask us to do such things anymore. We are essentially strangers." His words pierced deeply into my heart, confirming my fears. Both Wilson and Emily seemed to be eyeing Johnson's inheritance, indifferent to us as long as they received it. This betrayal from family deeply wounded me, yet we couldn't foresee something even worse. I immediately informed Johnson about Wilson's possible intent for the inheritance, a notion he seemed already convinced of. I nodded in agreement, acknowledging the distortion that had seeped into our family dynamics. Wilson and his wife had made the decision to move out, and when they broached the topic, a sense of relief washed over us. Living with them had become unbearable, and sharing the same roof had become distressing. They expressed their desire to reside in a new single-family home, a venture that required a considerable amount of financial resources. To expedite their relocation, we decided to extend financial assistance. "Dad, Mom, thanks," they expressed gratitude, but beneath their words lay an underlying meaning that tempered our joy. As the construction of their new house concluded, the day of their departure arrived. Packing their belongings, they bid farewell to our home. A week later, we visited their new abode with a housewarming gift, a gesture tinged with reluctance on my part. Recalling my father-in-law's teachings on maintaining decorum, I resolved to endure the visit. "Nice house, isn't it?" "Smells like new construction," I remarked, attempting to mask my discomfort. Their home surpassed our expectations in its beauty, a testament to the investment poured into it. As we exchanged pleasantries in the living room, an urge to use the restroom overcame me. "Where's the bathroom? May I use it?" I inquired innocently. Their response was astonishing. "Wait, are you trying to use the bathroom? Dirty old people are banned from using it. We use that toilet too, you know. If you use it, our brand new toilet will get dirty immediately, won't it?" Wilson's words stung, followed by his wife's admonition to make do with outdoor options, lest we soil their precious home. Their callousness left me reeling. Despite their disdain, they were once family, but in that moment, they seemed like strangers devoid of familial affection. It was then that I resolved to seek revenge, to bring them to ruin. Exchanging glances with Johnson, who mirrored my shock, it became clear that we were not wanted there. Having fulfilled our obligation with the housewarming gift, there was no reason to prolong our stay. If they were determined to treat us with such disdain, then our presence was indeed a burden. It was time to depart, to leave behind a household that no longer welcomed us. I had expected an unwelcoming atmosphere, but being told we were banned from using the toilet and directed to the bushes was a blow too harsh to bear. "Yeah, leave right now. We don't want this house getting old and musty because of some old people. Don't stay any longer than necessary." Wilson's words echoed with disdain, stripping away the familial bond I once cherished. I'd grapple with these conflicting emotions later. For now, the priority was to depart. "Don't come over unless absolutely necessary. We've got your gift, so you're of no use to us now. Maybe see you at the baby shower, but that's it." Emily's demand for our departure was laced with greed, a stark contrast to her insistence on receiving gifts despite wanting us gone. Though giving them gifts felt burdensome, we possessed the means to keep the peace, and I reluctantly accepted. "Then let's sever ties. If you despise us so much, it must be hard to continue as a family, right?" I proposed, eager to distance ourselves from their toxicity. Emily readily agreed, perhaps unaware of the consequences. Gathering our belongings, we left Wilson's house, their lack of farewell signaling the beginning of our retaliation. Back home, I shared our revenge plan with Johnson, who found it intriguing and joined in wholeheartedly. As spouses, we had become mirrors of each other, united in our pursuit of retribution. We busied ourselves with preparations, eagerly anticipating the moment they would face the consequences of their actions. About a week passed, our lives calm and undisturbed by Wilson and his wife. However, I sensed a disruption looming on the horizon, and sure enough, the phone rang. Johnson and I exchanged knowing glances as I answered, putting Wilson on speaker. "Hello, Wilson. What's up? Did something happen?" I inquired, surprised by his casual tone despite the recent altercation. Wilson sounded cornered and desperate, his words disjointed as he pleaded for assistance. It was clear something had gone awry, and while I couldn't comprehend the specifics, I was ready to navigate the fallout. I had meticulously orchestrated this revenge, anticipating the repercussions Wilson might face. When he accused us of wrongdoing, demanding an explanation, I was at a loss since I was unaware of the specifics of his accusations. Encouraging him to elucidate, Wilson began his story in an angry tone. The trouble started when he went to work after the incident. While working, Wilson noticed an unusual change in the way his colleagues treated him. Their looks were unusually cold. Unable to bear this perception, Wilson, who often concerned himself with others' opinions, left work early that day. Hoping it was just his imagination, he returned the next day, only to find the cold stares persisting. Confronting a colleague about it, all he received was a cryptic response. "Ask yourself." His plight extended beyond his department. It seemed everyone in the company, from high-ranking superiors to colleagues in other departments, regarded him with disdain. Wilson felt as if every employee he encountered held him in contempt, despite his best efforts to understand the reason behind the cold treatment. Unable to pinpoint a reason for his mistreatment at work, with no job-related mistakes on his part, Wilson surmised that my husband, Johnson, a member of the company's founding family, and I must have been involved in some way. Accusing us, he lashed out, demanding that we take responsibility. Indeed, the frigid reception Wilson faced was not a figment of his imagination, but rather a calculated part of our scheme. We promptly informed my brother-in-law about Wilson and his wife's mistreatment, and being greatly valued by him, he was furious upon hearing the ordeal. Unfortunately, my brother-in-law, not one to keep secrets, inadvertently leaked our story to his secretary and other managerial staff. Soon enough, the entire company knew about Wilson's perceived misdeeds, and everyone began to scorn him. Faced with a hostile work environment, Wilson was unable to continue working, especially given his susceptibility to others' opinions. Although his employment was a result of nepotism, considering his lackluster academic history, he couldn't possibly manage a proper job search. While the company may have seemed like his only option, working there under current circumstances was proving impossible for him. Wilson pleaded for us to intervene and rectify the situation. "I can't work under these conditions you caused, right? Then fix it." Wilson's voice boomed over the phone, demanding a resolution, but I harbored no intention of forgiveness. "We've disowned you, remember? Why seek help now?" "That was all Emily's doing," I retorted sharply. Despite once considering him and Dad as family, he had misconstrued the true meaning of familial bonds. Families are supposed to help each other, right? "So help me," Wilson pleaded. But his misunderstanding of family dynamics left the conversation futile. With finality, I ended the call and blocked his number, severing ties with our own son. Our revenge was far from over. The following day, Emily's voice echoed through my phone, urgently requesting entrance. "Sarah, please open the entrance. I have something to discuss, including about Wilson. Let me in quickly," she implored. However, our former home was no longer our abode. We had sold the house we shared with them, moving to a new, grander single-family home, chosen with a subtle hint of competition. Confounded by our dissownment, Emily persisted, oblivious to its implications. "Then where are you? Things are terrible here. If we don't know where you are, how can we receive the inheritance? Tell me your current address," she pressed on, failing to grasp the gravity of our decision. "Emily, you can no longer receive any inheritance. We've disowned you, remember? We're no longer family. Why would we give an inheritance to someone who's not family? I explained patiently, astonished by her lack of comprehension. Her response was startling. I didn't know that's a real problem. If we can't get the inheritance, let's forget about the dissownment, okay? We're still family, right? Her self-centeredness bordered on absurdity, proposing that we cohabitate for financial gain. It was clear her motives were driven solely by the prospect of inheritance, disregarding past grievances. However, her proposition to live together, despite once driving us away, underscored her insatiable greed. Restarting life with them was out of the question, as their intentions remained tainted by selfish desires. I pondered whether Emily truly comprehended the gravity of our dissownment. Could she not grasp such a fundamental concept? Sorry, but we'll have to decline. From now on, please don't contact us. We've disowned you, so we're no longer family, and non-family members won't inherit anything. Please understand and give up, I asserted firmly. However, Emily persisted, pleading for forgiveness, clinging to a glimmer of hope. Yet my decision, and likely Johnson's as well, remained resolute. I ended the call with finality and promptly blocked her number, ensuring she couldn't reach us again. With that, we had completed the dissownment, severing ties cleanly and definitively. A sense of relief washed over us, lifting the weight of an unpleasant connection. Subsequently, I heard through acquaintances and my brother-in-law that Wilson and Emily's relationship deteriorated rapidly. They engaged in incessant fights over inheritance and employment, ultimately leading to a divorce. Amid bitter arguments over alimony and property division, they resorted to legal proceedings. Following the divorce, Emily sought refuge in her parents' home, hoping for acceptance. However, their reaction was far from welcoming. They were furious and promptly ejected her from their midst. Wilson, having resigned from his job, struggled to secure new employment, now laboring tirelessly in part-time roles to make ends meet. Meanwhile, Johnson and I basked in a peaceful and contented life, freed from the burdens of the Wilson affair. With newfound freedom, we began planning a trip, extending an invitation to my brother-in-law and his wife as a token of appreciation for their support and collaboration in our revenge scheme. As we meticulously planned our vacation, we reflected on the profound lesson ingrained by Wilson and Emily's actions. Family transcends blood ties and entails unwavering support and solidarity in times of need. Their disregard for even their own kin underscored this lesson, leaving an indelible mark on us.